When I tell people that I'm a yoga teacher, the vast majority say something about touching their toes, and a very small percentage of people says something to me about reincarnation. My presentation tonight is going to be a three-pronged approach investigating the concept of instinct in terms of genealogy or genetics, in terms of linguistics, and from the yoga perspective. So here you see an image of my brother and sister and I. You see, because we're so similar in size, that we were really close in age. And the number 3 for us was really basic, and it was a source of balance. We learned early on that within that group of 3, we could form alliances of 2. So this kind of number of 3 was really normal for us. So we went to church and we learned about this doctrine of the Trinity. It didn't seem weird to us at all. In fact, on screen you see here just a list of different cultures and traditions and the way that the number 3 creeps up into their traditions of spirituality. But for us, of course, being children, we were really into sweets. So this instinct that children have toward sweets and toward ice cream in particular was perfectly enabled for us in that this is a close-up of the Neapolitan ice cream. You remember this from the 70s? It was so popular. So we could share one carton of ice cream and each of us can indulge in our favorite flavors. Another thing that we really shared and loved was a desire to color. And we used to spend hours coloring. And we wouldn't fight about it. We would just draw all day. And one thing that I never told anybody that I learned how to do was while I was daydreaming, I would imagine that I was writing with my toes. So here I have an image of my dog. And I think that one of the best ways to discuss the instinct, like Alan said, of fighting, this is something that we see throughout the animal kingdom, because the tendency to fight or to flee is something that's instinctual in us. So this is an image of my dog in his ferocious state, all 10 pounds of him. So this is another image of my dog in a serene state. So we see the value of being ferocious and protective, but what about the value of being tranquil? My dog in this picture is surrounded by a bunch of pointers, and we know how the experts find a canine trait and then they induce breeding to create the breeds that we love and know so well. The second part of my presentation has to do with linguistics. So if we examine the word instinct, are you really satisfied just to learn that in all the Romance languages, it kind of sounds the same? Whether you're speaking Spanish or French or Italian or Portuguese, the word sounds the same. But if we dig back even further, we wind up in this part of the world that you see outlined in this map. So this is the Caspian, what's it called? The Pontic-Caspian steppe between what is today Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. And this is where the mother language that evolved into 400 different languages evolved. And this image that you see here is a gem. When we unearth the roots of language, in pre-Vedic times, the goddess Vak was depicted as a cow, and she was considered to be the source of happiness and nutrition. So we see that combination. If you go back to this map here, you see all of the world outlined. So even though it might be a digression to talk about the goddess Vak, when you look at how languages and art and spirituality evolve in different cultures all over the world, we see that there must be some really strong instinct, some really strong drive to develop these 3 things. If so many different cultures that are disparate all over the world came up with language, came up with art, and came up with some kind of spirituality or methodology to describe the mysteries of the world. So here you see there is an image of the Tower Theater and my feet. This is to kind of tell a story about one day when I was in front of the Tower Theater with my parents and I saw my dad kind of scribble something on his chest. And I learned that later he was air writing himself the word tower. So if I go from genetics to linguistics, and if I try to describe instinct from a yogic perspective, we have to go to the dawn of time, where Vedic philosophy and Sankhya philosophy posit that before time and before space, there was just Purusha and Prakriti. And Purusha is formless and unconscious. And Prakriti is everything that we know in the universe, everything that's tangible, everything that's touchable, everything that we can identify. And Prakriti, when we examine it and tease it apart, we get the three gunas. And here's where it comes back to the idea of instinct, because they say that each of us possesses a very unique ratio of the three gunas. They can be translated as tendencies, or they can be translated as threads. And they say that we are born with an exact ratio. So Rajas is the principle of heat and action. Tamas is the principle of lethargy and dullness and inaction. And Sattva is the principle of purity. And they say that we are born with an instinct to move toward Sattva. So when it comes to reincarnation, they say that what we take from one life to the next is our exact combination, that exact ratio that's distinct to us of the gunas. And they say that each life is a chance for us to work toward Sattva, that really strong instinct to work toward peace or tranquility. So I think that it's all really neatly summed up in the story, the fairy tale of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So you see, this is my rendition of it. And here we have a story of a little girl who's really just trying to realize her goal, her instinct of moving toward Sattva. So we can always go toward the fairy tales when it comes to questions of the heart. So there you have it. It's a rambling stream of consciousness, exploration of the idea of instinct told by a girl with a penchant for writing with her toes, who's going to go home to a ferocious and tranquil little dog. Thank you.